Okay, so let's talk about fear. So, fear is a powerful and primitive human emotion. It alerts us to the presence of danger, so it's not always bad. Fear can be divided into two stages, biochemical and emotional. So, the biochemical response is universal to everyone, and the emotional response varies depending on the individual. Fear can be mild, and sometimes it can be paralyzing. You don't need to be in danger to be afraid. So, fear is part instinct, part learned, part taught. You can fear getting a shot at the doctor's office because the pain you experienced the last time you got a shot. But we also learn to be afraid of certain people, animals, places, situations, etc. Some fear is imagined, so we can be afraid of something that may or may not happen.
Fear of God in them, for they can be useful for future breeding. Anybody know who Willie Lynch was? Anybody? Raise your hand. No one? He was a vicious slave owner in the West Indies. The slave masters in the colony of Virginia were having trouble controlling their slaves, so they sent for Mr. Lynch to teach them his methods. The word lynching came from his last name. His methods were very simple, but they were diabolical. Keep the slave physically strong, but psychologically weak and dependent on the slave master. Keep the body, take the mind. I and every other professor on this campus are here to help you to find, take back, and keep your righteous mind. Because obviously you have lost it.
So, Willie Lynch was a slave master who delivered a message in 1712 on how to control slaves, and he stated his methods would work for at least 300 years. So, I kind of wonder if this is why people thought the world was going to end in 2012, but okay. So, his methods were to use fear, distrust, and envy for controlling the minds of slaves. His methods included murdering male figures in front of women and children, and by this happening with the male image destroyed in front of them, the female feeling alone and unprotected would cause her to go into a psychological frozen state of independency. And this results in women raising their offspring in reverse positions. So she'd raise her female to be independent like her, and the male to be mentally weak but physically strong. So let's go through some examples of how this is currently being played out. So this photo states that with all these killings going viral, such as the police killings or the police shootings, that there will be a high demand for psychologists. And here again, we have the male image destroyed, taken from their home, and the female moves into an independent state. Again, she'll raise her male and offspring in reverse positions. So in this photo, it states that the reason men and women are having a hard time dating is because we weren't raised to be compatible. So our parents raised girls to be severely independent, but raised boys to be overly dependent on mom. So parents are strict with the girls, but lenient with the boys. Naturally, a male will want a feminine woman, and vice versa. But because of this phenomenon, the roles are reversed, so we're kind of confused. So let's talk about emotions, specifically fear, how it affects the body. So it can affect the adrenals and kidneys. So short term, fear activates our fight or flight reaction. If we're in danger, we'll either fight or run. This varies depending on the individual. So when we fear, our brain sends messages to our kidneys and adrenals to release stress hormones. So short term, if we're afraid, our adrenal glands are activated and adrenaline is released into the body. Our blood is pumping, our heart is racing, we're ready to go. When we're in constant fear, a stress response chemical called cortisol is released into the body. And this is when disease and damage can start to occur. So some physical effects of fear include nervous system disorder, UTIs, loss of sexual energy, loss of life force energy. The body can become acidic. You can have high blood pressure. So Faith and fear both require us to believe in something that we may or may not be able to see. My question to you is, who instilled the spirit of fear in you if God has not given the spirit of fear? So choose love over fear. Love is more powerful. If you didn't have any fear, what would you do? So make a choice that fear cannot live here where you are.